So I guess let me give you a little history. Um, we went, my husband and I, we went for custody of my stepson because, you know, his mother was not in a good place. She was not taking care of him. She was using drugs and selling them. So, yeah, we took him in. This, you know, he had. We don't blame him. He had lived in her home. She had turned him against his father. You know, he has no rules. He was allowed to do as he wishes. He's 12 years old. Um, he's had, you know, a rough life, pretty much. And for that, he has some issues. He lies. He will not follow rules. He does not like to follow rules. The minute he came into our home, he did not want to be here, and that's okay. You know, in a respect, I understand, but I also have 5 children of my own to think about, and that my husband graciously, you know, has taken them in. He raises them like his own. Their father is also involved in the picture, but, you know, my husband he thinks of them as his own, and that is awesome. He's an awesome person. Um, However, his child, he gets supervised visits with his mother once a week at the Department of Social Services here in the county of St. Lawrence, which is in Canton, New York. He went there and he exaggerated some situations severely. Pretty much made his father look like he was beaten, but trust me, he was not beaten in any way, shape, or form. My husband and I decided that it would be in the interest of our other 5 children if his son no longer resided with us, and I understand that that probably seems horrible to some people. How can you do that? Well, we have to look out for the best interest of his one child, but we also have to look out for the interests of the 5 other children and for our best interests. That may sound selfish to some. You know, it is what it is. I don't know. But there's that part. So, Monday of last week, I had a call from my stepson's caseworker asking me some questions, asking me if I had ever seen my husband use a belt to spank his son's butt. No. You know, no. Now my issue here is that she made it seem like we were child abusers, where we were horrible parents. So she told me that she had gone to my children's school, took all 5 of my children out of their classes, put them all in one room, which is totally not right. If you're going to interview my children, you're going to interview them separately, because my children, my oldest is 10 years old. Then my second one is 8 years old. And then 7 years old. Then 5 years old. And then 4 years old. So you put them all in a room together, and you're asking them questions, you're confusing them, you're giving them one question right after the other, and one child, you know, will agree with you, one child won't, and then you'll ask them the same question, they won't agree with you, and then you'll ask them again, and yeah, they'll agree with you. And, you know, yeah, she asked them until she got them to agree with what she wanted out of them. And of course, the younger children, as they hear an older one agree with her, the younger children are obviously going to agree with their older siblings. Now Thursday, my children came back from visitation with their father, and the caseworker showed up here. I will not mention her name right now. She made it seem like I did not have an option in anything that she was doing. I was pretty much treated like I was a criminal in my own home. She upset my children. She confused my children. Confused my little babies. Confused them. Now, she says, I need to talk to your children. She did not ask me if she could. I didn't know I had an option. And I'm sure a lot of people out there do not know they have that option. She came into my home. She made me feel threatened. She made me feel harassed. She made me feel like dirt. She made me feel like I was this horrible person, even though I knew in my head I wasn't. But the way she looked at me, the way she talked down to me, I'll be honest, I was a nervous wreck. I have an anxiety disorder I've had since I was 16. I was nervous. My children, they mean the world to me, and I was scared for my children because I didn't know what this woman would do. She brought out a package and she says, I have to drug test you right in front of my children. Now, this woman had no reason to believe that I was on drugs, no suspicion, no probable cause to believe that I was using drugs, which I don't. Never have. I'll admit, I tried pot once in my life when I was younger. Who hasn't? I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. Drugs aren't my thing. I have lupus. I take ibuprofen on a regular basis. I'm surprised I don't have a hole in my stomach from the ibuprofen that I take due to the pain that I'm in from the lupus. She brought me into my bathroom, stood there and watched me pee. That wasn't my issue. I've given birth, I've had children, I've had doctors, I've had nurses in the bathroom with me, you know. Every part's been seen. My issue was that she left my bathroom door open. And my 8-year-old son saw everything. He could describe everything that he saw. He saw me peeing in a cup. I felt totally violated. I have never felt violated in my life. I felt violated. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I almost felt like in a way, I was not sexually assaulted, but in a manner of speaking, I felt assaulted. I felt degraded. I've never felt so degraded in my life. I felt like I was this big. I felt degraded. Well, come to find out, I couldn't pee enough for her. So then in front of my children, I had to stick a swab in my cheek and whatever. And I had to hold it there for 5 minutes with my children watching. wondering, what's mommy doing? Are you giving my mommy a shot? You know, they don't know, they're little. God bless them. They've never heard of a drug. They don't know what drugs are. I've never mentioned drugs in front of them. They will never see a drug in my house. They will never hear of a drug in my house. And I am terrified of the day that they find out what drugs are from school. So after all this is done, my 4-year-old baby girl asked the lady, is my mama going to jail? And the lady said, yeah. Why would you tell a 4-year-old that? Why would you lie to a 4-year-old like that anyway? Why would you do that to a 4-year-old baby? Why would you lie? What did you get out of that? I don't know. What did she get out of that? Because I think she honestly got some kind of sick pleasure out of seeing my kids suffering, out of seeing me suffer, out of causing me and my family pain and harm. I think she enjoyed it. In fact, at times it looked like she was smirking. Now, so after all this, she looks at me and tells me, your husband cannot come home. We're looking out for the safety of your children. My husband, the man I love, the man that treats my children like they're his own. He loves these kids so much. He has a whole bedtime routine with them. He reads them books. He does this thing where he puts them on his shoulders and it's a sack of potatoes and, you know, runs around the house with them, and they love it. In fact, my daughters, if I try to put them to sleep, no, we need daddy at them. And I love it. Because for the first time since I've had any of my children, I feel like I have a happy family. I feel like I have a normal family. I feel blessed to have this man in our lives, because for 13 years I went through hell. I was in an abusive relationship, not just physically, it was emotional, it was verbal. This man that I had these children with, he made me feel awful about myself. He told me told me nothing good about myself ever. I was a bunch of horrible things, and I was pushed when I was pregnant. I was spit on. I was, had things thrown at me. Had plates of food thrown at me. But even that didn't feel as degrading as when this caseworker came into my home and did what she did. Now, right in front of me, she's asking all my kids questions all together, near each other. Asking them a question, and they'd give her an answer, but if it wasn't the answer she wanted, they'd ask it again. And then she'd get a different answer, and then she'd ask it again, and then get a different answer, and then she'd go on to the next kid and do the same. And that's just, it's not right. Little kids, they want to say stuff to please you. If they're scared, they'll say what they think you want to hear. So, I wanted to put this out here. I'm hoping I can get it around. I'm hoping that people will share this, that they will inform people of their rights as an American citizen against CPS. Child Protective Services is not here to protect our children. They do not, as much as they say. They are here for the best interest of the children. They are not. They are here for money in their pocket. They're supposed to follow the same laws as police officers, but they do not. They are horrible people. They are trained to lie to you, to threaten you, because they know that most parents do not know their rights as parents against them. So, and by all means, this is for parents that do their job, that take care of their children, that love their children, that provide for their children, feed their children, make sure they have clothing, make sure they're not dirty. Parents that love their children. I mean, if you're a parent that does harm to your child and hurts them severely and causes them serious injuries, or doesn't feed them, don't take care of their kids, and get the hell out of this, because this isn't for you. This is for parents that take care of their children, that love their children, that want to protect their children. This is for them. Because let me tell you, when a CPS worker goes to your child's school and interviews your children, automatically you get looked at from that school like you are a child abuser, that you're neglectful, that you are a piece of crap. And that's exactly how I've been looked at ever since they went to my children's school. When that's a myth. Just because CPS comes to your children's school does not mean any of that. And you should not have to be treated like that. You should not have to be treated like you are a child abuser. You should not be looked down at from these teachers. They shouldn't. In fact, I don't think it's right for them to be able to go to your child's school. I don't think it's right. Unless there is imminent danger to that child about to happen, I do not think that they should be able to go to that school. And that they have probable cause to believe that there's imminent danger and a warrant. I don't think they should be able to go. Now, I don't know what to do. I am planning on suing. That is a big thing. They can be sued. I just need to find a lawyer that isn't scared to go against the family court of St. Lawrence County. And I think if I go farther away from St. Lawrence County, I think I'm going to find that. I've done research for days now. For days. I found out some interesting stuff that I think parents should know. Because you have rights. You have rights in this country. You are an American citizen. You have rights. I'll tell you, before this, I knew we had a Constitution. I went to school. I took history classes. I never really paid attention to the United States Constitution of America. I know all of it now. I know every bit of the American Constitution. I know it by heart, and I will never forget it. Because these are your rights. So when I put I don't like my glasses, by the way, but I'm going to put them on for a minute. Excuse me, I know I'm kind of all over the place at the moment. I've never done this before. I'm not comfortable on video in the least bit. And I haven't been feeling my best due to lupus, so bear with me. So this is your Fourth Amendment, and don't ever forget this amendment. This is your Fourth Amendment in the United States Constitution. And it says, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Please remember that. Look it up, Google it, write it down until you remember it. Do something, remember that. And then you also want to remember your 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any persons of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. So you want to remember that. That's big. And then I'm going to read you a few things that I found. I found this a great website. I will post in the comments the URL for this handbook because you are going to want to read it. You're going to want to remember it. You're going to want to know your rights as a parent. So, in a case called Calabretta versus Floyd, this quote comes from the United States Court of Appeals. The government's interest in the welfare of children embraces not only protecting children from physical abuse, but also protecting children's interest in the privacy and dignity of their homes and in the lawfully exercised authority of their parents. Now this next quote comes from a case called Smith, 1991. That's all I found on it. But it says, I believe it was from the Supreme Court, permanent termination of parental rights has been described as the family law equivalent of the death penalty in a criminal case. Therefore, parents must be afforded every procedural and substantive protection the law allows. I also got some quotes from a few judges. This is a retired Supreme Court judge from New York, New York, Judge Brian Lindsay. He stated that there is no system ever devised by mankind that is guaranteed to rip husband and wife or father, mother, and child apart so bitterly than our present family court system. The second quote is from Judge Watson L. White, Superior Court Judge, Cobb County, Georgia. He, end quote, stated, "There is something bad happening to our children in family courts today that is causing them more harm than drugs, more harm than crime, and even more harm than child molestation." Now these quotes come from judges. Supreme Court judges, Superior Court judges, Appeals Court. So, pardon me, I got some music on. Let me turn that off for a minute. Okay. Alright. So, I'm going to read you some things from the handbook. I'm not going to read all of it, but some things I think you should know as fit parents. What your rights are against these people, because they are horrible people. And they are not there for your children. They are not there for you. Do not trust these people. Do not believe a word they say, because they will lie through their teeth. They will bluff you. They will threaten you to get what they want. They will threaten you because their goal is to take your children, not to protect them. They don't care if you're a good parent. They don't care. They're horrible, devious, evil people. I think they are evil beyond all words. Where are they when children are actually being hurt? Where are these people when parents are murdering their children or actually leaving bruises and breaking arms and doing all this stuff, where are they then? I want to know, where are they? Because those are the parents that these people need to go after. Where are they when they're shaking a baby or doing horrible things to their children? Where are they then? No, they want to come into a decent home and rip a decent family apart because they get thrills off of it. They enjoy it. They find amusement out of it. They love to hurt people. They love to see people cry. They love to hurt your children. They're not there for your children. They do not care about your children. And I'll tell you some more about that caseworker after I read this. And then I'll end the video. Excuse me, I gotta sit back. My back's bothering me today. Okay. So, I'm just gonna put you there for a minute until I find where I want to read to you. So this handbook, quote, I'm gonna quote it. I'll still over it. Hang on. There we go. Like I said, I will put the URL code down at the bottom in my comments. It also lists a bunch of court cases where CPS has been sued. There are other names for CPS around the United States. I guess there's DCF, DHS, DSS, DCYS, DCFS, HRS, CYS, and FIA. Here are some things you need to know as a parent. And I'm going to quote this. This is coming from the handbook that I will copy the URL in the comments. You as a parent or caregiver must know your rights and be totally informed of what you have a legal right to have, and to express whether you are a parent caught up in a very oppressive, abusive, and many times unlawful actions of CPS, or if you have never been investigated by CPS. Many individuals come to the wrong conclusion that the parents must have been abusive or neglectful for CPS to investigate. This is just a myth. So any teachers out there, yeah, it's just a myth. It doesn't mean that we as parents have done anything wrong. The fact of the matter is that over 80% of the calls phoned into CPS are false and bogus. Or children lie. Because there are some that do. Another myth is that CPS can conduct an investigation in your home without your consent and speak to your child without your consent. CPS employees will lie to you and tell you they do not need your consent. The fact of the matter is they absolutely need your consent to come into your home and speak with your children. If there is no exigent circumstances, imminent danger to your children with probable cause, credible witness to support a warrant, CPS anywhere in the United States cannot lawfully enter your home and speak with you and your children. In fact, it is illegal. You can sue the social worker and the police who assist them, and both lose immunity from being sued. If CPS lies to the AAG and the judge to get a warrant / order and you can prove it, that also is a 4th and 14th Amendment rights violation, which is a civil rights violation under Penal Code 1983. and conspiracy against rights covered under Penal Code 1985. If a CPS official knocks on your door, has no legal warrant, you refuse them entry, and the worker then threatens with calling the police, this is also illegal and unlawful, and both lose immunity. This is coercion, threatening, and intimidation tactics, even if the police only got the door open so CPS official can gain entry. Both can be sued. Remember, CPS officials will not tell you your rights. In fact, they are going to do everything in their power, including lying to you and threatening you with police presence, telling you that you have to let them in. You don't have to let them in. The police may even threaten you to let CPS in because you are obstructing an investigation. Many police officers do not realize that CPS must comply with the warrant clause of the 14th Amendment or be sued for violating it. CPS does not have a legal right to conduct an investigation of alleged child abuse or neglect in a private home without your consent. In fact, removing a child from your home without your consent, even for several hours, is a seizure under federal law. Speaking to your children without your consent is also a seizure under the law. If CPS cannot support a warrant and show that the child is in imminent danger along with probable cause, CPS cannot enter your home and speak with your children. Remember, anonymous calls into CPS are never probable cause under the warrant clause, and even if they got a name and number from the reporter on the end of the phone, that also does not support probable cause under the law. CPS must, by law, investigate the calls to determine if he or she is the person who they say they are, and what they said is credible. The call alone, standing by itself, is insufficient to support probable cause under the law. Many bogus calls are made by disgruntled neighbors, ex-spouses, or someone wanting to get revenge. So CPS needs to show the same due diligence as the police to obtain sworn statements. All CPS agencies across the country have an exaggerated view of their power. What you think is or is not abuse or neglect, CPS has a totally different definition. The definition is whatever they want it to be. Yeah. DCF will lie to you, mark my word, and tell you that they can do anything they want and have total immunity. They don't. And they can't. Tell that to the half-dozen social workers currently sitting in jail in California. They lied to the judge. Alright. So I guess for now, that's about all I'm going to read of that. I'm going to do more research. I plan on getting back on here and continuing this page. I'm hoping to get subscribers. I'm hoping to get support. I'm sure, you know, there's a few out there that'll have negative comments. Everybody's got their own opinion, whatever. However, I want to finish with some other stuff about that caseworker. That caseworker actually had no right to come into my home because there was a conflict of interest. And I'm going to tell you about that. When she came here, it felt very personal to me. I felt like it was a personal attack, like it was something against me. Now, I'm a very smart girl. Very smart. And I went to college for criminal justice. I have a degree in criminal justice. I didn't go on to use that degree because I was going to become a corrections officer, actually. And I found out I was pregnant with my oldest. So I gave up that career choice, and I'm a CNA, which is a certified nursing assistant, and I love my job. It's not as well paying as a job that I could have had, but you know, my children were worth it, and I work my butt off, even with Lucas, to provide for my children, to give them everything that they want in this world, and I will continue to do that through all the pain I feel, through hell or high water. I will give them what they need in life. I will protect my children and to the fullest. So I did some research because her name rang a bell to a few people I spoke to. And God bless my family. I found out that this caseworker was the ex-wife of my sister's boyfriend. And that she was no one to talk because she got into an argument with her 9-year-old daughter and threw her out of the house. So who is she to judge anybody? What kind of parent throws their child out of the house? Now, if you don't mind me saying, I'd say that's abandonment or neglect. You came into my house. She came into my house. She knew who I was. And she can lie through her teeth and say she didn't. I know she knows who I was. I had pictures on my wall of my mother, my grandmother. I looked just like my sister. Our eyes are the same. She knew who I was the minute she brought my stepson to this house. And she loved seeing the pain she was causing me. She loved seeing the pain she caused my husband. She loved seeing the pain she was causing my children. She didn't care about my children. This was for her own selfish, sick amusement. Now, Friday, the day after this, I spoke to a police officer. I won't mention his name. He told me that in New York State, we have a right to discipline our children as long as you are not injuring them to the point where they cannot sit down, or you're not breaking limbs or injuring them severely and putting them in the hospital. You have a right to discipline your children. He said he spanks his children. And he said CPS will try to get around the law any way they can. So, with that being said, if you've ever had issues with CPS, and once again, I'm not talking to the people that actually hurt their children, that actually go out of their way to hurt their children and cause them severe harm. I'm not talking to any of you. I'm talking to people that love their children, take care of their children, protect their children. Know your rights against these people, because you can be the best parent in the world and these people can show up into your lives and rip your world apart, and they don't care. They do not care. They're there for their money. They love to see pain. They love to hurt families. They love to take advantage of the power that they are given. And they will. I don't know how you can do a job like that. I don't know how you can tear a family apart and then go home and smile. To me, that's not okay, and there's something severely wrong with the family court in this country. I gave birth to my children. I raised my children. Nobody has a right to tell me how to raise my children. Everybody has different religious beliefs. Everybody has different political beliefs. So therefore, everybody raises their children differently. Everybody disciplines their children differently. But just because you discipline your child does not mean that you are abusing them in any way. I don't know what this world is coming to, that teachers, CPS, they tell your children, oh, if mom or your daddy spank your butt, you call us because you're, yeah, they're wrong. Let me tell you, I was spanked as a child. Who wasn't? But I also know that I turned into a decent person because of it. I didn't hate my parents afterwards for spanking my butt because I was bad and I needed it. They didn't hurt me. I think something needs to be done about the family court system in this country. I think things need to change. And somehow, I'm going to find a way to do that. And I hope y'all join me. So please share. Please let people know their rights. Please look at the handbook that I will share in my comments. Protect yourselves. And have a good day, everyone.